Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Kyle Davis, and this webinar we're going to be covering the CTC Superdoor. We're going to be covering the workflows and tips and tricks of how to use the tool, but also how to use the content once it's been brought into a project. Before we get started, as a reminder, this video is being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel afterward. As also on the panel for the go-to webinar, there is a question session. If you propose any questions as we're going through, if I have an answer, I can give it right there, or we will save some time for at the end. And with that, let's get into this webinar. So this webinar is going to be covering again the Superdoor tool and the content that has a very powerful features available to you. This video is going to be for going over an overview of it and kind of how to use it. It could be for new users to Superdoor if you were looking into getting it, or if you've had it for a while and you just haven't used it as much or are not aware of some of the features. This webinar is a great overview of everything. And again, we'll be going over some ways to schedule it and tag it. So the problem that I wanted to do with this video is for the users that have had Superdoor, they just not sure of how to use it or what the settings are, and they're not aware of some of the parameters that are available. So that's why I'm doing this webinar. So we're going to be covering how to use the configurator tool itself within Revit to create the doors and to create different types. And then also we'll show, once it's been brought into a project, I'm going to show how you can tag the door in views and how to schedule it. Because of how we built the door, there are some techniques that you can use to do those features for tagging and scheduling reasons. And also we'll show the different parameters that are available to configure the door once it's been placed, of changing some the values and some of the options that we have within the door to help you within the project. The first portion of this is going to, as I mentioned with the workflow, is going to be using the tool itself. This is an add-in within Revit that you can download and install, and it comes into the software, and it'll have the ability to open this tool and configure any of these doors that have come with the content for bifolds or double doors, singles, sliding, revolving. We have so many different doors in here that you can use to configure. And then once we have that placed, I'm going to show how to create some different types of it so that you can have different options and different availability. So I'm going to switch over to Revit, and I'm going to show the tool. So with the tool, when you install it, it does typically go to the Revit Express Tools tab. However, on mine, I have changed what tab it goes to for the RET content tab. I made my own tab. For more information on this, to change the tab, you can read the installation and configuration guide that comes with the tool, and you can change what tab it comes on. Instead of on the Revit Express Tools tab, you can create your own or have it go to an existing tab. So here I have the Superdoor and the Superdoor admin. And the Superdoor admin is for the users that are going to be configuring the availability of what options are going to be to the users that use just the configurator itself. And then again, in the installation guide, you can see how to turn this button off if you wanted to deploy it to your users, just having the configurator, not the admin. Now, I'm just going to spend a brief amount of time here in the admin just to mention that if you do use the tool the first time when you open the admin, you are going to have to download the content separately. So we have this message that comes up that says that if it's a licensed version, it will allow you to download the content. And I already have mine downloaded, as you can see in here. It shows up. If you didn't have the content, this would be blank. So whoever's configuring it will need to do this procedure. But the admin is just the ability to come in here and you will see all the different types of doors that it comes with for the door assemblies, the frames, and the panels. And on these, whenever you just double click on that element, it will pop up the configuration of it, where you can come through here and start tweaking any of these values that will show up in the configurator. And all the ones in yellow are going to be the ones that show up in the configurator. The ones that are white are the parameters that are available to the door, but are not going to show up in the configurator. And again, you can make any of these available if you choose. You just simply select it and choose what group it goes to. And then you, with the main assembly, you can select the compatible frames and the compatible panels. You can give it the seed name, which is when you're finishing configuring the door. This is the family name it's going to take first. Is in this case it's swing because it's a single, but you can come in here and put in single swing or something along those lines if you want. And you would do that to all the elements. The tool does come already pre-configured for all of them based on just some recommendations and stuff that we recommended, that these panels are available to these type of doors, the frames, and so on. So it does come out of the box already pre-configured for everything. You would just come in here and configure it for your company standards. So now let's get into the configurator itself. And when it first comes up, you do have the settings here. The first option is to pick the main assembly. And this is where I can pick my single swing. So here's that swing, or here's a swing double. I'm going to start with a double. And you can either double click on it. It'll take you to the next page, or you select it and you click next up on the top. This will also take you to the next window. And the next window is the frames, and in here we have all the different types of frames. We have hollow metal, aluminum, and we also have wood down toward the bottom. And then we have SHM, which is for the security hollow metal. We've had requests to put in some security type of doors where it's schedules differently, it appears differently. So we have made some additional door frames since the first release of the software. And we have the naming convention of the material first, so aluminum, AL, HM from hollow metal. And then we have the type of frame. We have the numbering system of how many transoms, how many side lights. So this AL00 is 0 transoms, 0 side lights. Whereas we have here a 01, which is a no transom, 1 side light. And then we get down to this one, 10, which is 1 transom, no side light, and then 11, 1 transom, 1 side light. So once we pick our frame, I'm going to pick just this hollow metal frame with a side light. I'm going to pick the 01. So either, again, double click or hit the next. Now you get to choose what type of frame, what type of panel do you want in here. So we have the naming conventions based on just kind of the typical of what we see in the industry for a flush panel F, a full glass, narrow vision 3 with the 3 lights, narrow vision centered, and security bars, and 6 panels, and so on. So I'm going to pick a narrow vision. And then it gets to the parameters values where you can set what the information you want. I can choose the height and width that I want. In this dropdown, I can, from the admin, the Superdoor admin, I can preset what values I want to see in this dropdown for availability. Currently, right now, it just has the 7, but you can come in here and change the admin to what you want, or I can manually type this in. If I wanted like a 6'8", I can type that in. Same thing with width. I hit the drop down, I get some default sizes that are available, or I can manually type that in. And then you have all the frame parameters for, such as the side light width, the frame of the sill, the width of the sill, or the frame of the face here. So you have all these parameters that you can control beforehand, but you can again also control them afterward. And when you do click on these parameters, you do get a little preview over here of what that parameter represents. So when I pick the back bin depth, you get to see the parameter here, stop thickness, and so on. And then here's the door panel, so we have a few parameters for like the glazing thickness, the width, the rail bottom, and rail head. And there is the next option, which will take me all the way to the end. However, I'm going to go back because we do have these sub tabs at the bottom under the parameters for graphics and options. And for graphics, we have an option here, for example, for the frame. Does it have an intermediate mullion? So here in the middle of this frame, there's a middle mullion, or is there no middle mullion? Has a threshold, the number of lights. Now again, I picked a zero transom one side light, but I can come in here and pick more side lights to go that direction. Instead of having the second side light off to the side, I can have multiple side lights going off. And then I get to pick the material of the frame. Now this is the material here that already come with the door. However, once it's been brought in, you can rename it. You can also process the families to change your materials as well. And then under options, I have other settings to, like for the description, I can put in a description here. The other parameters like fire rating ahead of time. So I just have all these other options available to specify as I put that door in. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the create now. And here you can see that it defaults here what the main door assembly name will be. And this is the seed name from the admin that it pops up and says single double. And then the type name, you can see here, this is going to be the name of the type. So this is the name of the family, and then this will be the type name of that. And then here will be the door frame name and the door panel name. Again, these are coming from the admin. Now, one of the things to mention with these type names is you can configure these in the configurator of how it default names them. So if up in the options, there's just the ability to customize the name of it here by picking from the available fields and adding them to the list here to process. So, for example, we have some clients that have requested that they don't want the main door assembly and the type name. They already have the main door assembly name, and then they want the type name just to be the rest of it. So here I could take the main assembly and I can remove it and just leave these parameters here for the door frame, door panel. And I've also added here the width and the height. And then I've also added a custom text here to put the X between them, so I get the width by height. Now I'm going to go ahead and, when I click on that, I do have to click the refresh button, and then this will automatically rename it for me. So when I bring this in, it's going to have this naming structure. And then at the bottom, you have the configuration options of here, load into project and placed in instant, or save the door assembly as a new family. So we added this option here because we've had clients that they like the tool and they want to configure it, but they only wanted certain users to configure. So they went ahead and have this option where those users will configure a lot of the primary doors and then save them out of Revit into a folder, and the users will just go grab those doors to load them in when they want, instead of using the tool, which is fine. So now we have that ability to save it out, load it in. So now since I have all this done, I'm going to finish it and then brings it in, and now I'm going to be placing it within my model. And so this is the tools grabbing all those pieces of content, configuring it, putting it together, and going to place it in here. So over here in the properties, I get my type of door that I'm placing. So I'm going to go ahead and just place it. I'm going to place it near this door, and then I'll swap this one out here. So I'll delete this one. I'm going to move this one over, and you can get a look of it. Here's the side light, and there's the door, and there was the center mullion that I placed. Now, after placing the door, if I want to create some additional types for it, there's a couple ways you could do it. You could go ahead and with what's placed already. I can come in here, edit type, and duplicate this door to give it new widths, new heights, and so on. So again, once it's in the project, you can do some of that duplicating while in the project, and you don't have to use the tool. However, if you are somewhere else and you're not sure where that door is, you can use the door to create some additional types as well. So I want to create another one of this door, but I don't want to have a side light. So I can come in back into the tool, grab that main content, grab my frame. I'm going to grab that narrow vision as well. Actually, let's go back. I'm going to grab a full glass and then create it. So again, here's the naming of it. Here's the main door. And the nice thing about our tool is that we do have the ability to detect what's already in the project and go ahead and use what's already there. So this main assembly name is already in the project. So when I go to load this in, it's going to duplicate what's already there. Instead of bringing in it again, it's going to duplicate. So as it loads this in, I'm going to show in the type selector that you'll see that it's using the same door. It just automatically created a separate type. So when I hit the drop down here, there's the new door, and here's the original that I had earlier. So I'm going to place that one. So creating different types with the Superdoor is very simple task. Again, you can create it beforehand using just after I've brought it in, I can duplicate it in the project, or I can use the tool to duplicate it for me for anything, for the width of it, the height, all that could be duplicated within the tool. Or you can duplicate it after you've already placed it. So you have a benefit of both areas. Now there are some things now with after I've placed it here of what to do with this door, and I wanted to get now into the scheduling and tagging of the door, because this has also been one of the things for new users of Superdoor or existing users that are not quite aware of some of the features we have within the door, that they run across an issue that they're tagging or they're scheduling and it's not appearing how they thought. So for example, with the tags, if I go to the Revit's Tag All feature and I grab the doors, and I'm going to tag every single one of the doors within this model. And when I do that and I tag, all of a sudden I see extra tags show up for the Superdoor. And the reason for this is because the panel within Superdoor is a shared door family. And since this is considered a door, Revit automatically tags it with the number. So you can see here there's a 20 and a 21 and then the 19. This tag here is the primary door. So when I select this, it's the swing double. This tag is this panel. This tag is this panel. So this is the one thing with the tag all, that it will do this. And over here, same thing. We have this door here that has the same options. So instead of using the tag all feature in the method of just doing tag all, one of the recommendations is that I'm going to go ahead and just remove these to show this. Is let's say I want to tag all the doors. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all these. I have some Superdoor up here for a single swing in use, so I'm going to go ahead and delete all tags, and I'm going to show you what the recommended procedure would be if you're going to use Superdoor. Is to go ahead and select all doors within this view. So if I just window select, I can then filter by the doors. So I'm going to grab just the doors. So now since I have all of these selected, if I go to the tag all feature now, there is this option here of only selected objects in the current view. And then I'm going to do my door tags and click OK, and now it only tags the ones. So here you can see the tag there, and over here it doesn't tag the panel. So if you are using Superdoor at this point, it would be best to select your doors and then do the tag feature to get them to tag better. Now, depending on the version of Revit you have, that tag all feature actually works if you just simply select everything. You don't have to filter. So if I just selected all of this and then go to the tag all, again, I have the only selected objects, say door tags, and OK, to tag them without having to filter beforehand. So that was a benefit within Revit, that you could just, again, select everything and not filter beforehand. And the same procedure would be for Windows. If you are using Windows within a Revit project, we do have in our tool currently the frame is part of the window category. So if I was to tag Windows, that frame would show up as well as a tag. So if you want to avoid that, again, do the select feature Windows, or if you did the Windows feature, it would tag that. So that would be a little different. Or if I select my other window, it won't tag that one. Because when I do select this and I go to the filters, it doesn't see that other category for Windows. So this is where it will not tag the frame for Windows. Now, the scheduling of it, we have with the Superdoor, it comes with a bunch of parameters, and those will be schedulable. So a lot of these parameters are shared parameters that you can schedule. So I have a door schedule built, and in here I will have a list of all my doors, and you will see there's my single, double, there's this, or swing double, and it gives me my parameters for the width, height, and thickness. And then we have other parameters that we've added that if you have a door schedule already built, you might have to customize your schedule to fit the parameters that come with Superdoor. For example, there is the out-of-the-box frame type. With the Superdoor, we have our own frame type that automatically has the frame parameter built into it. So if I come in here and I'm going to grab my frame type and add it over, and I'm going to move it up just before the other frame type in here. This is the out-of-the-box one, so I'm going to remove that. So here it shows the frame type already there. So this is that HM01. This is the HM00. These are the wood frames. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the panel. Go back to fields, and there is the panel type as well. And there is the panel type, and then there's a panel type, panel 2 type. If you wanted to customize, you have panel 1 and panel 2 are different. You have that functionality. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add this parameter right here. And then here it has the panel type of NV, and this is FG, full glass, half glass, and so on. So we have a lot of parameters that come with it that you can schedule, and you'll see in here the frame materials and panel finishes. All these have our parameter values in there, so you can schedule it. Now, with this scheduling, if you come back over on if I come over to the family name, I added the parameter family for the reason here of showing that, well, here's my single or my swing double, but then I have here the family name HG, and HG is the panel. So it's the panel, since we talked about the tagging feature, the panel is also showing up. So we have a built-in functionality to be able to get rid of those panels. And what you need to do is go to the fields and add the parameter up here in schedule. So I'm going to add that over up here in schedule, and then go to the filters tab, and I have then I'm going to say appear in schedule, not parameter exists, because this will lose some your other doors. So what we recommend is appear in schedule does not equal no. And what this does is it will remove the panels from the schedule, but it will keep the main door assembly, and it will keep your other doors that are not part of Superdoor. So right now, if I do this, it's going to remove all those panels, but it keeps some of the doors that are not part of Superdoor, such as this one here. This is the out-of-the-box Revit door. This is also, and then these are the curtain wall doors. Those come with Revit. They're not part of Superdoor, but they're still in the schedule because I said does not equal no. And we have that built in that the panels are automatically no. We put a formula in there to lock them at no, and the main assembly is locked at yes. So here you can see these are all yeses, and the panels would have been no. Now again, I don't have to keep this one here. I can hide that column so that I don't see it, but it still filters my schedule. Same thing with the windows. You will have the frames show up in the window schedule, so you can do the same thing of appear in schedule does not equal no for the windows category as well. Okay, now let's get into the final topic of just some of the parameter values in general of what you have available to Superdoor content after you've placed it or during the placing. They have some other features, and if I select this one here, you're going to see in the properties palette we have a bunch of parameters here that you can control. We have the first one here is the show 3D angle. And what's nice about that is it actually will show the door in 3D open. So right now I'm just going to select this area here, and I'm going to create a 3D view to show this here. So there's the door, and you can see it has all the ability to have that side light there. So it has all the render materials and stuff, which over here you're going to see all those materials are listed, and you can click in there, change those values. But this 3D angle, if you check that, it will actually show the door open. So it physically moves that panel to have it open up. So if you wanted to do a render, you can actually see that door open. And then again, if I uncheck it, you'll see it closed. Looking at the question things, we do materials assign? Yes, we have the materials, which is the down here we have the render appearances, so the glazing, the panel finish, the frame finish. All of those are actual materials that when you render, will actually render it appropriately. And the other question I see here, since we're talking about the 3D function, is there door handles? Currently in Superdoor, we don't have door handles. There's a lot of options for door handles. We chose for now to not have door handles available. That is a future request that we've had as well. However, you can configure the door handles if you want. With the art tools, you can edit the doors and put that in there and add an option. We just have that in our request list right now. Okay, so let's finish up with some of those other parameters that are available. There is also the clearance boxes of the push side and pull size, where we have some ADA clearance boxes where I could say here it's of the push size. So we do have some that are the push size and pull side. So you'll have to look at those. So here, if I say push side front approach, it'll actually create this box here to show that. And I have some with the latch, and you'll see it shifts over. And then I have the other one for the push side, or pull side, and I can do again the pull side approach. So here you can see it gets bigger, and it just has these boxes that help you identify that this needs to be a clear area here, so I can make sure it doesn't hit anything, and there's this area available to get there. So we can choose none. You can also, in the visibility graphics, there is the ability to hide that category. We do have the clearance subcategory that you can turn off. Then we have the other parameters for the panel offsets, the panel inset, the swing angle. So if I wanted a 45 degree, I can change the swing angle. However, we also have this option at the bottom of existing. If I check existing, it will automatically make it go at a 45. And this was based on common practices where all the firms wanted all their existing doors to be at a 45. So unfortunately, there's not a way in Revit to tie this parameter to the phase itself. So you'd have to set this to existing also, but when you check that box, it'll automatically go at a 45. If it's unchecked, it goes on the angle. Now, one of the other parameters that I really wanted to touch on is we have built into the frame itself is a parameter controlling walls that are joined to this wall. So for example, I'm going to draw another wall right here. And then I'm going to join this wall and this wall together, this one and this one. So I joined it. However, in the door here, you can see it's not going through this wall. And this is a very common thing. Sometimes when Revit joins something, it doesn't cut through. However, we have in our frame a parameter to fix that. You have to tab to the frame. So when I hover over the frame, I hit the tab key, select it, and then you can go into the edit type, and it's this opening thickness offset. And you can change this to be a much bigger number than the width of the wall that you're joining to, and it will now cut through that wall. And this was just a way that we had to get that to be achieved to cut those joining walls. So we added this parameter to do that. So you have that cut now. And another one that we have available, I'm going to find this this wall here. It's a masonry wall. We do have a parameter as well in the door for masonry frames. So I'm going to go ahead and place this door here. Currently, right now, it has the match wall thickness turned on. So it's actually taking the entire thickness of the wall. However, I'm going to go into the parameters, and it's right here as frame matches wall thickness. And you can uncheck that to have it not match it. Now, if I do it to this one, it is going to do it to the other one, so I will have to duplicate it for masonry wall versus just a regular stud wall. So I would need to do that. But just to show it here, I'm going to uncheck it, and you're going to see that the frame no longer wraps the wall. It is just embedded in the wall. And we do have the parameter, I should have shown that before I hit finish OK, is right here is the frame depth. You can change that number to control the actual depth of the frame. And that will right here, so here it sits in there. So again, we do have those parameters available, and then the frame inset. Same thing, that I can insert the frame and it will push that inward into the wall. So I set it to 1 inch and it's going to push it back within the wall. So to finish up here, we went over the tagging, the scheduling, and showing the different options that are available. So in conclusion, using Superdoor has a lot of features that are available to you to bring into your project and use them for to getting the doors that you want and have them schedule and have the render capability. And using the content is very user-friendly. We try to make it easy that you're aware of. And that's also why this video I'm doing here is to make it even easier that you know about the features that are available. So thank you for joining here, and we'll go through ahead and we'll get ready for the questions here. But we have some upcoming sessions. August 28th, we do have a webinar on a Revit room data sheets for interiors. This is using some of the other CTC Express tools that we have. So if you're interested, please join into that session. And again, thank you for joining, and I hope you have a great day.